The floor is yours.
Great. So lovely to be here. Thanks for having me here. My name is Ananda Groak. I work for, as you just said and introduced me, for the Dutch National Shared Mobility Program. And I do that on behalf of the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. I prepared a few slides. Should I share them myself, Alonso, or are you calling them on screen?
As you prefer. I have them on my computer open, but if you want to share as well, you can do it as you prefer.
Okay, I'm going to try to do that.
Perfect.
Can you see my slides?
Yes, we see them. Perfect.
Okay, let me just click this away. So our Jeffrey just said you need a 5-year plan. So I'm really happy that our program is lasting for 5 years. So that's our first success point. Our program is called Natuurlijk Deelmobiliteit, which is translated as naturally shared mobility, or shared mobility naturally, because we want to make it the most normal thing in the planet. And our subline is, it's made by frontrunners, available for everybody. So whatever we make within the program is available for everybody who wants to use it. So as you also heard from Jeffrey now, I think we can all benefit from a more coherent offering in a country or in a city, or maybe even in Europe, if we really think big. And Jeffrey already said what shared mobility leads to. I think if we work better together, we can reach quicker all the benefits that were mentioned earlier for shared mobility. Now, we didn't just do this on our own. We're working together with 29 different partners in the Netherlands. So that's the national government, a lot of cities, municipalities, transportation authorities, and also provinces. So it's really diverse layers of public authorities. It's a public program, so it's only public partners really working together to bring shared mobility to a next level. And we didn't just get here. It's been a long road. I think we are actually started in 2015 with a public-private partnership that also Flanders was part of that Green Deal car sharing at the very beginning. And I think the little red logo that you saw in Jeffrey's presentation, the sharing logo, is something that came from that cooperation. So, but at this moment, I'm really proud that our program is also recognized on a national level, and our House of Representatives is aware of the program that we're running all together. So we got a lot of more body and seriousness to really make things happen rather than just great intentions and ambitions, with also nice projects and products, but now it has more body, let's say. And just really quickly, so we really want to work together on what we together think that the priorities are to do to make standardized policy products and services for everybody to use. We want to do joint research, so not that every city has to do their own research. We want to have a great dialogue also with market parties, with and really see that we can speak together with one voice. And we want to share everything that we make, because of course, if it's all about sharing, you need to share what you're making as well. And we have 4 pillars of the program. So one of them is really to do joint monitoring and evaluation to get a better picture of where shared mobility is at in the Netherlands, to work together on projects, to share knowledge within each other, because there's also a lot of problems that occur today, like, for example, Amsterdam selecting new scooter companies and kicking other ones out, so that becomes a national problem because other cities suffer from that. So that is a subject that we then pick up together and talk about. And there's a lot of debate and opinion. So there's, I think, a lot of subjects that we don't really know yet how to tackle. So we really need to discuss together with different different political colors as well, to see how we can bring shared mobility to the next level, despite the differences in political colors, let's say. So that's where we debate and opinion together. I think that's really in short what the program is about, and I look forward to the panel discussion. Thanks for your attention.
Brief as promised. Thank you very much, Ananda. We will move down the ladder to the next level, to the regional level, and to talk with Jonathan. We'll be bringing what Wallonia's regional shared mobility strategy is doing. Jonathan, are you there?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good. I will also share my screen. Yep, can you see it? Okay, good. So yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'm Jonathan Fretin, working for the regional administration in Wallonia, in the organizing transport authority team. So we are a team of around 25 people now. I will speak a bit about that later. So what about shared mobility in Wallonia? So what are we doing at regional level? I wanted quickly to give you a bit of context first, or strategic context in Wallonia. I will not dive into how Belgium is organized politically, but just to explain that transport matter is mainly a regional matter in Wallonia. So we have a regional government, and transport is one of their competency. It's a bit more complex than that. For instance, rail transportation is still a federal matter, but so that's important for us, of course, for the combination with the rail. But that's the only topic federal. The rest is on a regional level. So our context in Wallonia, we have a vision that was adopted in 2017 that we call the FAST vision. It's a French acronym for fluidity, accessibility, security, and the T is for the modal shift in French. And this vision, and this make, I think, a nice link also with Jeffrey's presentation with the circle of success, because we have the three components there, the governance, what Jeffrey was putting under framework, and then working on the offer and the evolution of behavior, so the demand. So that's there in the vision, not only for shared mobility, of course, for mobility in general, also public transport. But that's what we want to work on. And this vision was translated into a regional mobility strategy, which was adopted by the government in 2019, with 35 main undertakings in this strategy document. Some of them are directly connected to shared mobility. For instance, one of the 35 is clearly increase car sharing drastically in Wallonia. So it's really in direct connection with shared mobility. There are others that are also related to shared mobility, but not only, like the development of a mass vision in Wallonia is also one of them, just to give a few examples. And of course now, so this was adopted in 2019 until 2030. So I think also in the timeline that Jeffrey was mentioning, it's consistent. And for shared mobility, we want to go further now to translate the strategic undertaking into real action plans. So that's where we are now. And just to mention, we have also then the policy statement from each government. So now we are under the 2019-2024 government, which has its policy statement, which has confirmed those vision and strategy, and adding also some more elements like the contribution to a climate objective with mobility, and some major investment we do in Wallonia in public transport and active mode. So that's the strategic context. A few words on shared mobility. I will try to keep it short. So that's the poster we have created for the launch of the SMAPE project. I think it was interesting to reuse. So it was in March last year. This is the top of the poster, just to explain our starting point at that moment. So some of the things I said already with the strategy. One big objective is the modal shift. You see on the left, reduce the private car usage from 83% in 2017 to 65% in 2030. That's still there. A lot of things we do with public transport. We're organizing the public transport offer with a better hierarchy. And then doing this work, we realized that shared mobility is really one component to make this new way of organizing public transport a success also. So more and more we realize maybe it was not there completely at the beginning, but that now shared mobility should be there as an important piece of this success. And then I will not go in the details, but some of the things mentioned there with all the decree. So it's all the legal aspects of things that were already there before the SMAPE project. Just to highlight that we were not doing nothing related to shared mobility. There are some legal basis already, but that we want to make evolve in the future for more shared mobility and to accelerate the usage of shared mobility in Wallonia. So the middle of the poster was about SMAPE and what we want to achieve there. Again, not with too many details. I think the most important is what is mentioned in vertical letters there, the shared mobility action plan. That's what we are working on now. That will be one of the achievement we want to reach in the SMAPE project, really create a shared mobility action plan. That's what we are missing now to make the link between the strategy and its implementation. And there, with all the goals that you see there in the middle, so developing the most appropriate mobility solution depending on the territory. We have the challenge in Wallonia that we have very rural areas also. We have a couple of cities, middle-sized, but also rural areas. So shared mobility in those environments has to be different. The second one is how to subsidize the shared mobility. Do we have to, what actions to take there? And of course, then we will have to influence also government to have money for that. Stimulate the emergence of solution digitally integrated. So as I said, we also work on mass integration of the solution in the mass ecosystem. How to monitor shared mobility, I think it's very important. We are working now on monitoring, big observatory of mobility in Wallonia. We want shared mobility to be part of that, to see if the measures that we are taking are successful. And then how to work on incentives, and that's where we will probably discuss that after. Also the influence of, there are some things that are decided at federal level in terms of incentives to reduce private care usage, that we will have to influence also. So that's very quickly what we do. You see there, I see on this infrastructure on top, and the Mobipole totem you see there. So that's the mobility hub terms in French. Of course, infrastructure is important as a basis for shared mobility solutions to be successful also. And we are working on that as well. And that's the bottom of the poster, just to see our ideal vision of a mobility hub, all those mobility solutions combined, public transport, shared mobility. But also other things that we want to see in a mobility hub. You see a playground, you see a co-working area. So that's really the ideal. Of course, we will not have that everywhere, but that's our ideal vision of tomorrow mobility solutions for everyone. And then one quick last word about the team where I'm working on. So it's the Organizing Transport Authority that was recently created in 2018. As I said, working initially mainly on public transport, and then it was transformed in March last year into the Organizing Authority for public and shared transport. So just to highlight that also how the administration is organized. We want shared mobility to be successful. We organize ourselves around that. We have now a dedicated team. So we have a public transport team, a shared mobility team with 6.5 TP in that team, plus other people helping for legal aspects. So it's really good that the administration is also now taking that seriously. So and thank you, and looking forward for the discussion on all those topics.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. Really interesting as well. Well, let's go down to the local level now and hear from Lars, who works for Bergen and has been working on Bergen's shared mobility roadmap. Lars, are you there?
We're here. We're actually going to be two guys here doing this presentation. It's going to be me, Lars, and Brandsius, who some people might recognize from Autodel, but he's doing a 6-month stay here in the city of Bergen with us. So we're going to try and do a 5-minute presentation, 2 minutes each. So
can you see the screen?
Can you see the screen?
Yes, the screen is black. It's great.
Yes,
so it's Bergen at night.
I know it rains a lot, but usually we have lights.
What's happening?
We had no color as well.
Wait.
Let's see. Just some technical issues there.
If the presentation doesn't work, you can do a role play, the two of you.
Yeah. I think I can.
Yes.
You see it now?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. There we go. So this is how Bergen looks during night, not like all pitch black. We'll just gonna give you a little presentation on something we're working on right now, along on the SMAPE project. So yeah, me, Lars, and Bram. To put it just a starter, I think you're all aware of this. If we want to do something about this car-centric world, then if we want this, then we need to have a coordinated plan on working on this, the shared mobility. In Bergen, we do have car sharing, we have public bike schemes, we have e-scooters, shared e-scooters, but there's so far has not been a coordinated effort on promoting them, and that's what we want to do something about. So, to put something in, what's our current political framework for going forward on such a strategy on working on shared mobility? We last year got adopted a new climate strategy. It's saying we're going to be fossil fuel free by 2030 and so on. But also it has some bullet points on, there you go, saying that shared mobility solutions which contributes to reduced private car use, increases use of active and public transport must be available in all boroughs. And also saying that less people should own their own car. So that's like an overarching goal that's leading the way for us. This strategy was followed up 6 months later by this action plan. And it had one action. It said, establish good structures for achieving shared mobility in the whole city, for example, like in an action plan for shared mobility. So the action plan points towards an action plan. There's one important thing here, and I think the other government and municipalities are aware of this, that these documents, these plans, to get them through the city council and being adopted, that's many years of work, just for sentences and goals like this. And then you can do the next slide. What we know is that mobility is in constant development. And we had this thought, is actually an action plan that has to go through the city council, that has to all the time, and for all adjustments, you always have to go to the politicians. Is that necessary, or is it possible to find a more flexible document that's more easily adjusted? And that's why we ended up choosing, or want to do a roadmap instead. The floor is yours, Brown.
Thanks. So we're gonna create a shared mobility roadmap, and not to mix up with shared mobility rocks here, the acronym. But what is a shared mobility roadmap, and what are we gonna tackle? So first of all, it's the what and the why of shared mobility, because I mean, it's very important. Why are we doing this? We're addressing this clearly in the document. Maybe also good to say the status right now. We just created a first draft. So it's not finalized yet, but we are in the process, and we already have quite a good idea of what we want. And also, what is shared mobility? Because shared mobility, as Jeffrey was mentioning, there are a lot of different definitions and things going on. So also to create a bit of like, this is what we are talking about. And in our case, it's about car sharing, shared micromobility, and carpooling. There will be a benchmark of the current status of shared mobility services in Bergen, and we also compare this with other cities that are more or less similar size-wise than Bergen. Very important thing is also the role the city and especially our urban environment agency can take, because what Lars Petter said, like because of this political process, it's actually a roadmap for our agency, so it's actually not for the whole commune. That's also important to know. And last but not least, and probably one of the most important parts of the shared mobility roadmap, it's the priorities until 2030. So by the time our roadmap will be finalized, I guess it will also be around 5 years of terms that it will run. To give you just a bit of idea on how it looks. So if we map the current status of shared mobility, as Lars Petter told, we have e-scooters, we have Volride, we have the Bergen city bikes, shared city bikes. There are 4 car sharing operators active in Bergen. 3 of them have publicly reserved spaces. And we also have, since September last year, a very interesting carpooling project together with the Public Transport Authority for the whole county, SHUS, that works together with Nabucco. So that's that. We also compare with other cities, for example, the number of shared cars per 1,000 inhabitants. In Bergen, we have around 2 shared cars per 1,000 inhabitants, and we try to compare this with other cities. Of course, it's always hard to compare because some cities have other definitions for car sharing. So it's very hard to make conclusions, and every city has, of course, its own specific typography, for example, but it just gives an indication where we are right now. But then we come to the last part, which is actually one of the most important parts, so the priorities. And what we are now is that we are planning to define 4 different priorities. So the first one is that shared mobility in Bergen should be a suitable option and solution for everyone living in and around Bergen. So that includes creating more offer, especially in the suburbs, and also making sure that the offer that is there today and will be created in the future is more accessible for everyone in Bergen. So, which it is not really at this moment. So that's also one of the priorities. The second one is shared mobility should tempt people to use other modes of transportation than the private car to travel in and around Bergen. The actions and the interventions that we propose there are mostly on communication. The third part is on the zero emission, which is, of course, we're in Norway. It's the zero emission Valhalla of the world. But even then, we think that shared mobility should contribute to creating a zero emission society by 2030, because we have the goals in Bergen to have all road transport zero emission by 2030. So shared mobility is, of course, also part of that. And the last priority is that it should make seamless traveling possible in and around Bergen by 2030, which, of course, here we are talking about public transportation, public transport integration, mobility hubs, mobility as a service, and things like that. So that's where we are today. And if you have any questions, Lars Petter will take over in a couple of weeks this role and is going to continue working on the.
But please, if you
roadmap.
spam Bram with messages before he finishes in 1st of March, then please feel free to do so.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really interesting. So we now have a grand total of 6 minutes for a panel discussion. So I want to respect everybody's time. I'll just use 1 minute for a short comment and then 5 minutes for one question to all the panelists. My short comment is the following. I don't know which of you have read or are interested in this concept of diffusion of innovations. Most of what Jeffrey said at his wonderful presentation right at the start was really is really following what scientific research on this diffusion of innovations points to. So either Jeffrey read the book or he's a bloody genius. I left on the chat a link to the book. Of course, you should buy it if you can, but if you can't, there's a PDF. I definitely recommend it. And why for this? Because innovation is not just technological innovation, is the adoption of new technologies, but it can also be the adoption of new values, of new habits, of new behaviors, of new types of vehicles, of new types of choices, etc. The diffusion of innovations is a social process. So it's not like we put stuff out there and people will magically take it up. No, it's a social process, and which means that it works within groups and from peer to peer through social relationships. So for that, it's really important to understand that more than trying to make a sale on one-on-one to the people who are furthest away from adopting this, and they won't trust you in the first place, the question is, how can we build a growing group and network of people who are adopting this? And that, by the way, is what marketing has been doing for the past century. And also, it's basically you look for the people who are closest to making the buy. So my question, because we only have 5 minutes for this, is very simple, and it's not any of the questions that was very well prepared by the organizers. Sorry, Jorge and Alonso, but fine questions for the next webinar. My question is very simple. So policy making, so engaging decision makers at all levels. So policy making these sorts of decisions in management, planning, etc. I mean, it's not a simple process. It's highly complex. It's not linear. It goes back and forth and up and down to the sides. It's often not purely rational. You know, lots of perceptions and fears and stakes and installed interests are at stake. And the professionals working within the administration, and that's what I did for many, what certainly many of you are doing. The professionals, although they are not elected, they obviously play a key role in framing the issue, in shaping the questions, in developing the proposals. Elected officials don't design the plans. They pick the solutions that are available, and it's the professionals that make those solutions available. The point also is, and that's my question, I usually see a huge lack of awareness and knowledge, and even contrary attitudes by many transport professionals towards shared mobility. For many, it's not a mainstream thing. It's still a thing out there. So beyond preaching to the converted, how do you preach at your respective levels of governance to the colleagues who are not aware or are not really convinced by shared mobility? In a short sentence, how do you do it? It's an easy question. Who wants to start? I see Jonathan is smiling. Maybe we'll start with him.
I can
How
start
do you
if you
do
want.
it, Jonathan?
Well, yeah, if I have to answer short, I would say what we do now is what I was explaining at the beginning is the making it consistent with the mobility solutions in general that we try to put in place. So we start, as I said, from public transport. We make it better, better hierarchy, better offer, and also more adapted to the territory. And then we make shared mobility complementary to that. So in an urban environment, shared mobility is not complementary to public transport the same way that it has to be in rural environment. And that's how we pitch a consistent story for a full mobility chain. And I think that's where we really have a good storytelling for shared mobility to show its consistency for the society in a bigger picture. So I think that's one angle. I think that's not the only answer to your question, but I think that's one important angle that we promote in Wallonia.
Thanks, Jonathan. Lars, what about Bergen? Is it filled with visionaries, or did you have to overcome resistance from colleagues or policy
We have it all. We have it
elected
all.
officials?
At least two visionaries.
Two visionaries. No, but I think it was a couple of years ago. We're still working on car sharing, taking that example right now for a long time. But the interest of car sharing has been not that big. People, I think this is like some people inside they're doing this sharing car, and I think Jeffrey mentioned the thing. What are we interested in? We're interested in the impact. The problem was that we only could point towards international reports on the impacts of car sharing, right? And then in the end, we did this impact study of car sharing in Bergen. And suddenly it was really hard for those people hostile towards car sharing to actually not accept the effects of it, because it was the cars just outside our offices in our streets. And then we did a lot of effort on dissemination on it. And I'm a bit I'm a bit jealous on the Netherlands with Ananda's effort there, at national level acknowledging shared mobility and car sharing. That's where we have a lot of work to do still, national road authorities, but we're bringing the impact study all the time into the discussion there.
Okay, so there's nothing like doing stuff at home, and then so people cannot say it works somewhere else, but it would never work here. Ananda, I'm sure that in the Netherlands, you see people who are way up there front, but I'm pretty sure that you also have to deal with people who are dragging their feet towards shared mobility. Or is everybody graded in the Netherlands?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think everywhere you recognize the same issues, right? I mean, there are a lot of believers and a lot of non-believers. And you constantly need to explain over and over again. So sometimes, the people who've been in here for a long time are like, oh, there we go again. We need to explain again why. And of course, you have like every election time, you have new people, new parties that you need to reconvince again and again. So I think most of all, it really takes courage to sometimes try things. And that's also, I see a question from Sami, how do you try and experiment new things? I would encourage everybody to just start trying and then gather a lot of data to just build your case and to prove that things are working. However, there is also a downside to experimenting, and I think that sometimes we calculate short times for an experiment, and then in a city your inhabitants are just starting to get used to a specific service, and then the service is being taken out, which gives your inhabitants not enough time to get used to things, and just when they get used to things you take it away again, and also it doesn't give operators always the honest chance to really start making money, earning money back on their investment. So in the Netherlands, I see that we're starting to become a little bit wary about experiments or temporary things. But we do think, and I think that works in the program as well, that it really helps a lot to also look at other cities and to really share experiences. Because if the elder man in Utrecht is wary about free floating between cities, I mean, we bring them in contact with operators and with the city administration of Amsterdam, where they already have tested the case, and that they can show how the results are. So you take away some of the objections that maybe local cities have by really bringing together
peer-to-peer.
Yes, and I think that's really what works best, because if you put together a lot of different municipalities, there will be half of them saying, well, you know, moped sharing is not a good idea because it's only used by students and it just replaces walking and cycling, for example. But if the other half will say, well, actually, we have different results. So that's how you really build, I think, better policies.
Well, three honest answers for a very burning question. It's time for closing remarks. I imagine that would be Fabian or Alonso or Jorge.
It can even be all of us, but yeah, thank you very much, Pedro, and thank you very much to our speakers for being here. It was very insightful, a little pitiful that we didn't have more time for discussion because I had some burning questions in my mind as well, but I'm sure we're going to find another occasion to ask these questions. I think I'm speaking on behalf of the whole SMAPE consortium if I'm wishing you a very enjoyable weekend, and make sure to subscribe to our SMAPE newsletter to stay up to date, and hope to see you all again on whichever occasion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.